Hello Descendants, it is Ebontis, and this is going to be kind of my giant beginner's guide for everybody jumping into the First Descendant. Now, if you've been playing for a little while, there's still plenty of things you still may learn from this video, so check out some, because there's a lot of little things to kind of understand and piece together in this game to be optimal. So whether you're a new player starting from scratch, this whole thing's probably going to help you out, or you've been playing for a little while but want to know a little bit more of how things work together and how all the systems work, that's what this video is for. So this is going to be a pretty big kind of ultimate starter's guide, but before we get to all of that, a quick thank you to the sponsor of this video. Hey everybody, Ebontis here, and I got one question. How many of you are using a wallet like this? Old school, bifold, trifold, leather wallet, getting a little thick, holding on to too much stuff, the pocket is looking a little weird. How about we join the modern era with the sponsor of this video, EXP, and their fantastic wallets. Now, one of the coolest things is the accessibility of your cards. You don't have to do anything. You push a button, you get your card, and you're good to go. I love that. Slide them back in. And when they sit in that little compartment in there, RFID blocking technology, so all your stuff is safe. Now, if you go with the wallet variety, you've got the flap, as you can see here. Tuck a few things in this section if you need a little bit more space. Cash strap is going to be on both the wallet and the card holder. The card holder on the back is going to have a little more expansion for cards in case you need a little bit more space. But either one of them, you need to make sure you pick this up as well. And this is the tracker. Now, if you've ever lost your wallet in your house, you know it can be a pain in the butt to figure out what freezer you put it on top of or what weird place you put it. Shouldn't have to worry about that too much because now your wallet can actually play a sound, which is great. It's going to make it through couch cushions and everything that you might have lost it in. But the other thing is you can set up to notify when you leave it behind. So if you're watching a movie in a movie theater and all of a sudden you start to walk away, your phone's going to tell you you're about to leave your wallet, and you don't have to go through the headache of trying to figure out where your wallet is. If you got to replace cards or cancel or go to the DMV, none of that stuff anymore. So check the link in the description or in the pinned comment and check out all of what EXP sells. They've got the wallet, the card holder, AirTag variations of pretty much everything I'm showing you here, backpacks, key rings, and more. Premium quality leather materials. You've got lots of color choices. It's nice to go with blue, just something different from the brown wallet of standard days. And honestly, they've got a sale going on right now for July 4th. It's 30% off if you're seeing this during the July 4th sale. With code Ebontis, it's another 5% off on top of that. But even if you don't catch it during July 4th, you might still catch it during a sale, and Ebontis always takes another 5% off the top. So check out EXP and all of their fantastic stuff. And now back to the guide. So when you first get started, you're going to have 3 Descendants to pick from as your initial choice, and I would be a little conscious about how you make this choice because unlocking the alternative options is going to take a little while, and it's not something you're going to have access to for quite some time. If you're in a group, I would go for a little variety. If you're by yourself, keep these options in mind. Ajax is going to be a bit more defensive. He's got a barrier that you can shoot through, a cube and something similar, which is going to be more of a defensive structure. And if you're going to use his abilities, you're actually going to have to be kind of up close and personal. So you got a little risk and reward with the playstyle. It's also going to be non-attribute damage, so more of kinetic, kind of gravity-like damage, not really fire, scorching, or anything like that. The first quest you go through is going to unlock Bunny, so most of us are going to get Bunny pretty early on. So if you do prefer her style, you're going to get electric and kind of this functionality pretty quickly through the campaign so far. Your other starting options are Lepic, which is going to be grenades, throwing, range damage, and fire. It does have a cool passive skill, which is going to be close call. If you get to the point where you're about to die, basically you would take fatal damage, you get some damage immunity, and you're no longer immobilized. You'll basically be able to kind of get to a safe spot, and then when that close call is done, you'll get half of your health back, and you'll be able to kind of get back in the mix, but play it safe. So it's that kind of saving grace, as you can see, kind of like the heart and angel wings there. So a get out of jail free card for half a second. And then VS is probably the hardest to go on a solo build, but if you're a group, would be good to have. So you've got chilling aspects with Blizzard, cold frost shards, then you've also got the frost road. As you run around, you make kind of a frost path, and then cold snap, a cone of cold damage in front of you. So more crowd control. I think she would be definitely the hardest, and if you check the history, you've got some cool information in here if you want to read on them and what's going on. But if you come back out, you can also show their stats. She's got a little bit more shield recovery out of combat, but lower on the health and defense. Lepic gets a little bit more in the health, still less defense than Ajax like I've got right now. And then even Bunny, you can see, is definitely more on the magic, so she'll be moving around a lot faster. Ajax is just a little beefier, slower, more kinetic, and if you're going to use more skills, this is going to be one of those where you're going to have to be up close and personal, so it does get a little bit risky. But if you have a group and you got 3 people, 1 of each would be great, because if you're playing together the whole time, you'll be good. If you're more of a solo player, I found that Ajax's like barriers and things are really nice. The other solo I would consider is Lepic as well. So those are kind of your initial starting Descendants. Pick one, think about what your playstyle is going to be like, group or solo, and how you want to support either yourself or your team. Now, one thing that you'll notice every so often is once you get enough experience, you'll raise your mastery rank, and that does a couple of main things. Ranks 1 through 10 are going to be your main benefits for any functionality in Albion and leveling stuff up and using different systems and stuff that are in the game. That all comes up to level 10. From level 10 to level 20, you're mostly just working on capacity of both inventory storage and then also your module storage, which we'll talk about modules in a minute. But even from 11 to 20, you're only going up from 45 up to 50. So not a lot of benefits. Once you get up to level 10, you'll be doing okay. And then everything after that's pretty small upgrades that are just going to kind of come with time. But early on, you'll notice like my Descendant module capacity is 25. Then it goes up to 28, 31, 34, 36. These are pretty big because the module capacity for both your Descendant and your weapons is how many mods you can put onto both the Descendants and the weapons to customize them to have, you know, higher attack power or more shields, more health, things like that. So the more capacity and more slots, the better off you're going to be. So these just come with time and playing. So playing through the campaign, getting your basic experience is a really good way to do that. And you'll notice it actually tells you how you get it. So Mastery Rank EXP can be earned by completing missions, raising weapon proficiency, or leveling up your Descendant. So if you have a Descendant that you've been playing with for a while, and I think they cap out at like level 40, if I remember correctly, maybe 30. But if you max one out, you might honestly want to try switching to a different one so you can continue to level up your mastery rank and get the benefits from that one. But mastery, mostly going to be storage and inventory, functionality in Albion for like reactor enhancement and assigned module sockets, like certain functionality that the game will show you a bit later. But the big thing is going to be your module capacity in your inventory space. So you have your basic Descendants, and you can always check your skill type, which is like non-attribute for Ajax. Covered our mastery ranks and all the capacities and module capacities and the upgrades you'll get over time. Then we come to our 3 weapon slots. Now there are 4 ammo types. Special rounds are going to be beam rifles and tactical rifles. This is like a pulse rifle. Beam is exactly what you think. Then you've got your impact rounds, which are going to be scout rifles and hand cannons. High impact critical hits are pretty crucial here, but you got more ammo than your heavy weapons. Then you've got your general round weapons, which are going to be your submachine guns, handguns, assault rifles, and machine guns. Pretty much anything that sprays bullets a lot. So not so much on criticals. Hit and body shots is probably going to be okay. More just general use, as it says. Not going to be quite as big on the damage. And then you finally get to your heavy stuff. Launcher, which is like lobbing a grenade. Sniper rifle, very big on those critical hits. Not a lot of ammo in the whole magazine and reserves. Like you might have a total of 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that, but if you make those hits count, they hit like a truck. And there's also shotguns for that close and personal if you just need... And there's also shotguns for that close and personal, just you want to just take something big out and do chunky damage. If you think you can get close, there you go. Now, the big thing to note is weapons in and of themselves are going to have your base roll, which is going to be a blue weapon, and then you're going to have red, or the purple weapons, which are going to be rare for your level of rarity. Then you're going to have ultimates, and you're also going to have transcendent stuff. That's later on. Ultimates you have to craft. Don't even know if there's a transcendent weapon. I'm not quite there yet. But if you look at a weapon and you say, here's a recipient unknown sniper rifle, and here's a recipient unknown sniper rifle. Well, if you want to compare the two, what you'll realize is the only difference between these 2 blue weapons is just the attack power. That's it. It goes up 2 levels. It is stronger, period. That's all. Now, the difference is when you get to a sniper rifle up here, you'll notice that this sniper rifle technically has a lower attack power, even though it's level 43 and it is 3 levels above. Now, rounds per magazine, it's going to have a faster fire rate, so the impact is a little bit smaller. The reserves might be a little bit more on this weapon as well, but you'll notice the DPS is not that far off. But also when you get into rare weapons, you can see I've got more rounds per magazine, I've got more actual damage, weak point damage is going to be doing more, and bonus firearm attack versus the Order of Truth, which is just one of the factions of enemies. So while these are close, the one that is level 43, the weak point damage for a sniper rifle and the firearm attack, both of those are going to make a difference to where you're actually probably going to want to use this one. But that doesn't typically come up that often. Say you take these 2, for example. So the level 42 is the albinism, and the level 41 is Devil's Call. Now, the level 42 has slightly more base attack, but you'll notice a slight difference in fire rate. But then again, you get to a rare weapon, and it's going to have those modifiers. So while the level, if two weapons are close, and maybe even a rare weapon that you've got is a level below something, but it's just working for you, not a big deal. But if you're going from like level 39 up to like level 43, 44, 45, you're going to start to feel the difference. And that's where, as levels increase, the numbers go up, really does make a difference. One thing to make note of is just as you're going through Hero's Scar versus Hero's Scar, you're not always going to have the best random rolls, so take a second, even though the numbers are exactly almost the same between like this one, this one, this one, they're close, and this one's higher there, and it also has electric attack on it. This one's actually pretty strong, so that's probably the one that I should be using, because that DPS number is actually substantially higher for multiple reasons, because I've got bonus fire attack value and other things on there besides the level. So you will be changing weapons out all the time. Try them out. As you level up, don't hang on to that low level weapon for too long. It's not worth it. You're going to find some more stuff as you go through the campaign. I'm halfway through the campaign. All the stuff I got on here right now, it's pretty much all going to go away. But if you do love a specific weapon, and you also have some that you want to keep, you can actually use the register attached items. And that way, when you filter junk, you will never delete it, because you can actually save that one. And maybe it is one of those where a pulse rifle has good recoil. It's got bonus firearm attack versus something. It's got bonus attack power, and it's got a really good roll. Like this one, for example. I think I kind of like this one. You can actually eventually later on down the road get a level 65 weapon, and you can take that level 65 weapon and basically infuse it into this 43 and turn the 43 into a 65. So you can actually level up your weapons. So if you do find kind of a god roll rare one, hold on to it, but don't hold on to that many, because you're going to find so many weapons. And again, anything standard you don't need to keep, which takes me to kind of getting rid of all the junk. You're going to get a lot of drops. Your inventory is a little bit limited. So my advice is set your filter up as junk, and then you're going to make your life very simple. So weapon tier, anything rare and below. Obviously, you don't want to get rid of ultimates, not something you want to do. So if I want to mess with the level, anything below level 40, that will be factored in. Anything below level like 38, anything below level like 38 for all of these three, and then I'm going to apply it. And then when I come into here, if I want to designate all as junk, it's not going to make every single thing junk. It's going to designate what I filter as junk. So if I hold down shift, you can see anything that's level 40 that is rare and below is now been filtered as junk. And then I can dismantle all that stuff. Now I'm not going to do it right now, so I'm going to remove those. But you also notice the little heart right here. This one did not get marked and would not go away. So if I do like the pulse rifle and I haven't had a better one yet, maybe I just want to hold on to this one for a little while. You probably don't need to, but that's a thing. Same thing would apply on the other side. If I've got components over here, if I want to designate all as junk, it's going to do everything at that lower level, but it's not going to do the ultimates because, well, they are ultimate tier. And that's the reason I'm keeping those specifically. So it's a nice way to filter out junk quickly if you're not one of those who holds on to stuff. And you know when you get level 60-something drops, none of this stuff is really going to matter. Same thing here. If I want to designate all junk, it's just going to take the 38s, 39s, and below, but it is going to keep the ultimate. So using that filter and then coming in and just removing all the junk, nice, easy way to clean up your inventory. If you want to go one by one, you can mark them one by one and then delete the junk. But if you just want to keep that filter on and you're like, all right, bump it up by a level, I'm seeing some higher stuff, let me get rid of the old stuff, simple and easy. Now, when it comes to modules, it can get to be a very deep discussion, but the general concept of modules, whether it's on a weapon or whether it's on a Descendant, is if you switch off of a weapon, maybe you even delete all of this Devil's Call submachine gun that you have in your inventory, and maybe you get another Devil's Call 20 levels later. Any of the modules that you've got saved, or if you've got a setup for Ajax, and you switch off of him and use Bunny and then you come back, they will be saved. It's actually pretty nice that it does that. And the way modules work is you're going to have a basic capacity that is going to be based on your mastery level. We talked about mastery levels previously. That is where your module capacity is going to come from for both your weapons and your Descendant. And then from there, it's all about using the capacity and the spaces that you have as efficiently as you can. Now, some of these will have categories. You see this one's accuracy, recoil, and recoil. So I can't have this recoil one and this one. It's going to tell you they're in the same group. Pretty straightforward. But what's going to happen is you're going to have a socket type. And these are all just the different little kind of description, these little icons for them. They'll come into play more on the Descendant. I'll show you that in a second. They're also going to have a number. That's going to be the cost. And your goal is to optimally use your module cost as best as you can And it's also going to show you everything you get applied, but think about the weapon that you're using. Submachine gun, well, something as simple as an expanded weapon cartridge, so I have 15% more ammo. That sounds pretty good to me. Go ahead and apply that in. Also having a longer magazine, boost up my DPS a little bit. Now you'll notice I have expanded weapon cartridge and an upgraded expanded weapon cartridge. You also can't put duplicates in there, same principle as before. But what you'll notice is this one is 12%, this one is one that I have upgraded. You have the option to upgrade these modules. Where to spend your currencies early on, I would advise it on things that you think are going to be pretty universally applicable to whatever weapon type or descendant that you're using. So max health, going to be usable for pretty much every descendant. On something that fires a whole bunch of bullets like auto rifles, submachine guns, machine guns, rounds per magazine, probably going to be universally beneficial. That type of stuff is where I would spend your upgrade currency early, and then later on when you beat the campaign, you're working on min-maxing, that type of stuff, then you can go a little crazier later on. But early, don't have to do anything. Fire rate, you could technically just make that faster. Come down here, just have it do more damage. Universally, that is not a bad thing ever. You do more damage, and this is probably a good one to level up as well. So when you come out here, you'll notice Hero Scar. All of these are going to have green icons. So each ammo type has its own modules that go with it. And also, if you're not entirely sure what to do, and you're like, I got 13 left, I don't know what to do, I just got this weapon, I still want to keep going on my missions. If you've never seen the weapon before, and you're like, okay, new weapon, I have no modules equipped, but I want to like run to the next mission, equip recommended modules. It's going to use the capacity as best as it can, probably to some algorithm, maybe use some of the ones you've upgraded, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give you something, and then you can hit the ground running again. So that's not a bad way to go. But also, if you take a sniper rifle, and if you do the equip recommended, and all of a sudden it gives you something like blast radius, or if you put a grenade launcher on it, it gives you critical hit damage, maybe that's not going to be the most optimal. So the algorithm's not perfect, and you might want to check stuff if you really care, but in a pinch, use the equip recommended, and at least you'll be getting some benefits from modules that are going to give you faster fire rate and adding, attack damage and all that type of stuff. If you are getting to a point where you're struggling, you want to be more efficient, or you're min-maxing later on, that's where the nitty-gritty and the minutia of what's going to make this specific weapon better will come into play. When you get to your Descendant, same principles are going to apply. You're going to have the sub-module, which is going to be your melee. Pretty straightforward on that one. And then the difference here, I haven't got any skills modules yet. I'm sure that's later on high-level stuff. But you'll notice these icons. Same icons that I showed you before. So this is this kind of weird look at R. Well, if I put one of those that has an R on it, if my defense is normally plus 16 and it costs normally 6, if I match the symbol, it's going to cost half as much. But up here, if I'm looking for an M and I put the wrong thing on it, it's actually going to cost even more. So you want to make sure that you match the slot to the symbol, because it's going to be cheaper, and definitely don't put the wrong one in the wrong place. But then again, if you got a bunch and you're not entirely sure what to do till you read or look at builds or guides or something like that, equip the recommended ones, and then you can think about what is going to be good to upgrade. Again, regeneration, increased HP, increased defense, just some basic stuff that's going to help my Descendant overall. And then from there you can get into the min-maxing and all that stuff later on. But that's the gist on modules. They're mods you're going to pick up as you do all these campaign missions and a bunch of other stuff. And they save to whatever you save them to. They're easy to clean slate and start over again if you want to. They're not a big deal. And when it comes to your Descendants, you can min-max as much as you like on some of this stuff, and you're going to have ultimate levels of mods, and you're going to have transcendent levels of these modules, and they're all going to have different costs and different powers and potencies and give and take. Just read what you got going on there and mess around a little bit. If things don't feel like they're working, you may try a different build. So reactors are a little bit of a conversation, but bear with me because there's a lot to understand to get the most out of them. So when you have a reactor, you're going to have a couple things. Your standard ones are going to have skill power boost ratios, and that's going to go into your type of skills for your character. So for my Descendant Ajax, you'll notice that I am going to have non-attribute, and then I'm going to have both tech, and then I'm also going to have dimension skills. So if I come over here, you'll notice electrical skill, nope. Singular skill, nope. So I get no real benefit from this one besides the base skill power and the base sub-attack power. Sub-attack is just melee, by the way. Now, if I go to, say, this one would technically be a little bit higher, but that's the only real benefit I get from it because it's Toxin Infusion. Still nothing that matches with Ajax. Now, if I come over here, you'll notice this one is also 39, but the tech power So if I have this one equipped, for example, now you can see my 2 tech skills get a benefit of 20% more skill power. So if I did my lunging and like heavy land attack or my pulse attack, those are going to hit 20% stronger. Pretty straightforward on the math, but that's where that comes into play. When you get to rare versions, you're also going to notice you have an optimization condition. So now you can see if I have this one on, I'm not really getting a lot of benefit. So let me throw this one on so I get some tech power benefits. Now you're going to see that my skill power, while it is, 1 level higher, so it's only 89 points, the big difference is going to be I've got a scout rifle equipped. Doesn't even mean I've got it in my hands, it's just one of the 3 that I've chosen to have equipped. That is a 40% to all of your skills. So notice the big green numbers at the bottom, those are all going to help. Now also, once you get up to rare category, you're going to have the kind of modifier RNG rolls at the bottom. So skill duration, that's going to be a smidge longer, and skill critical hit damage also would be more. So that one's actually not too bad, but I'm not getting the skill power boost ratio. So this one's still better, so I'm going to go ahead and equip that one. Now let's go look at one that's 38. Now in comparison, you can see the skill power and sub attack power at a base level, 38 versus 40, it's just going to be weaker, straight up. And while we do have a scout rifle on both, what you'll notice is my skills are across the board stronger because 1, non-attribute, which matches Ajax, and again, say if you're running Bunny, you would be looking for electric and singular and all those things. Non-attribute helps all of my skills be better. So if I'm going to go for a comparison, you guys can see fire and singular don't help me at all, but non-attribute helps me, and then tech helps the middle 2. So that's why even though a lower skill power and even the optimization condition being matched is, logically 40 level would be higher, because the skill power boost is so much more noticeable. My skills at, instead of 2943, my 2 that actually do damage for Ajax are, 900 points higher almost. So this is where your reactor is going to really come into optimization, and then take one that I have up here that's going to be even better. So if I have my 38 that I had equipped, but then I compare it to the 40, now you can see everything is just better. I've still got the optimization met, my skill power is all matching across the board, but now I've got a higher base skill power to work with, so that multiplicative nature of the benefits of this is just going to be even more. And it also has sub-attack power being higher. Now, the thing about the 38, you'll notice the yellow roll of HP heal modifier. That's going to be a pretty cool roll because that's not a common one. And skill effective range, also going to be pretty important. The blue standard rolls, not quite as potent and powerful because the tiers are the same. Blue is standard, purple is rare, yellow is going to be ultimate, and then above that you have transcendent. I haven't even seen that stuff yet. So if you're going to go for the full optimization, I can actually bring out my level 41 here and be more efficient. But you'll notice if I have something where I don't have the right weapon equipped, but even if it's a level 40, there you go. This is level 40 and this is level 40, but the numbers don't even come close because I've not optimized. I'm on toxic. The only thing I'm matching is 2 of them get the tech bonus, but I'm like 1,500 to 1,800 points off. Really making sure you match the, type of your Descendant to your reactor and the weapons that you have equipped makes all of your skills much more efficient. So really pay attention to that. And then when you get down here to Ultimate, you'll have things like even certain weapons giving you optimal conditions, like Thunder Cage, which is the first, kind of electrified submachine gun you get. It's a 60% boost if you use it, but we're going to have to try and find one that's higher level because I am pulling away to where even that 60% benefit actually keeps up anymore. So keep that in mind. But if you're using Thunder Cage and it matches your character like Electric Infusion, this would be a really good one to use with Bunny around that mid-range time. And then finally at 42, 43, you might leave it in the dust. But for now, it probably would be really good if I had everything optimized correctly. So reactors are very important to match as close as you can. And again, as you're playing along, you may not have the right ones drop, but if you get one that's at level 38 that matches you perfectly and you're getting things that are 43 and 44 and they're just not matching, keep that 38 on until you get one that matches, because you don't want to give up that skill power, especially on other classes. The skills are really, really important. All right, external components are going to be a kind of pretty straightforward thing, but there are a couple things to watch out for. Main functions, they're going to do max HP, they're going to do maximum shields, and they're going to help with defense. Your kind of main 3 survivability stats mostly. And as you level up, they're probably going to be more on the linear side of things. So if you're down here at a level 33 for defense, I've got 340. If I come up here at a level 37, I've got 410 defense. And defense is one of those that kind of just takes the damage incoming to you and lowers it kind of by a multiplier. Now, when you go to rare, you'll notice you've still got some defense, if I can find one. Well, rare is not going to be that much of a difference, but HP the same way. Level 36, you get 40 HP. Level 38, I get 42 HP. Not a ton. So again, if like, even between 36 and 38, if the modifiers here like shield recovery in combat and MP recovery modifier, if I find those more beneficial than gold drop rate and my SF search radius, I don't really care too much about those. I can give up 2 hit points. Probably not going to be that big of a deal. This one's going to be better for me. The thing to note about any of these 4 components right here are the ultimates, because notice how level 36, 40, level 38, 42 health. An ultimate at level 34, lower than both of those, is sitting here at 104. Massive jump. Now, the rolls can always be random. Some may be good, some may be not. But if you're working on a certain stat, an ultimate of a way lower level could still punch drastically above its weight. So let's see if we can find a max shield. Notice the difference. Max shield 32 at level 22 for an ultimate. Max shield 32 at level 29. So for a little while, you might have an ultimate that has a good roll on it that you may use, you know, for a level that's way beyond what you think it should be. But if the roll is that good, that's probably okay. So if you see ultimates in the components category, pay attention to those and you can filter them to look at what you need to. But overall, you'll just want to figure out if your build plays better with HP, with more shields, or more defense. And you just might have to do a little testing and figure out what works well with your Descendant in your class and your playstyle too. Alright, so this is Albion, and I'm going to do a quick tour of a couple highlights in here, but the game does actually a pretty good job of taking you around to show you a lot of things. Quests, as things open up, will kind of take you into weapon leveling and modules and stuff like that, but just a couple things. When you reach a mastery level, this icon will probably turn yellow. Come in here and you'll be able to upgrade your mastery level. Pretty awesome animation, so just watch it in full one time. When you come back over here, when you're looking for just any of the missions, if you want to replay the bigger missions, you're able to actually go to the infiltration operations, and you'll see it's pretty much every mission that you've done, but typically has kind of a boss set up at the end in every zone that you've been to. And so you're going to be able to replay them on normal and hard. You've got your mailbox of stuff that they send you, like with the server down, they kind of compensated us for that. This is Seneca right here. He's going to be the one who manages the Colossus battles. So normal first, you'll be able to go through here, and then hard later on. Alpha and a lot of the story stuff is going to be down those stairs. This is your little guy who talks extremely quickly. And if you talk to the Descendant instructor, it's usually either to go do a thing in town, learn a bit of like weapon leveling or how to handle modules, stuff like that. But he talks very fast. That's part of the reason I'm making this video, because if you're trying to read all that, good luck keeping up unless you're a speed reader. You've got a storage box over here, so if you want to just put things into it, I've kept, you know, a couple of ultimate items and a couple of set piece things, so if you just want to hold on to stuff and not have it in your inventory, nice place to save those. In here, this is where you're going to do your weapon level transmission. That's leveling up weapons. Weapon readjustment, this is where you re-roll perks on weapons. Unique ability enhancement, so for your ultimate weapons, if you have copies of those, you're actually able to level the ability of that weapon up more. And reactor enhancement, when we talk about reactors, you'll see that you're going to be able to actually take your reactor up a couple of levels and boost the skill power just by, you know, spending the resources. But the resource you're going to have to get for each one of these things, you're going to have to get those resources over here at research. Research is where you take all your parts. This is where you're going to get Bunny the first time. But this is also where, if you go to enhancement materials, you're going to see these phase exchangers and the precision ones for ultimates and adjustments, and all of these little things are going to be what you need to research energy activator. This is a very expensive thing, but this is where you have more module energy. So all of your research will be done in here. And again, going through all the minutia of that would be a different time. Modules, this is where you're going to enhance your modules, as we've talked about those, taking them up to the next level. And they're also kind of a nice way to see if you go to your Descendant that I'm currently at, you know, 27 and 46, I could, you know, max things out a little bit more, but maybe I want to bump up my defense. You can see the bumps are not a waste. So depending on where you want to spend your module capacity, some of these upgrades, as you start to get a good amount of currency, like 606,000 versus 46,000 and 1.7 million, not a big deal, but they do escalate, so be careful because they also will cost more capacity. And this is where you can also dismantle modules. So you'll see if I get in here to, say, special rounds, and I've got the rifling reinforcement twice, I don't need 2 of those, so that's one that I can delete. Hawkeye that I don't need 2 of the exact same thing for the same type of weapon. No reason to have that in there. So if you have duplicates and stuff in there, if you see where you have like ×5 of some module, you can come in here and dismantle those, get yourself some Kuiper, and you also earn Kuiper by doing a bunch of other stuff. Combining modules, that's Mastery rank 9. I'm not even there yet. And there's a vendor where you can sell stuff, which I have not found any benefit for. You can purchase like level 1 basic junk equipment. Haven't really seen much benefit to any of his stuff. And selling, I've earned more money than I've probably needed so far, and I haven't sold a thing. So dismantle for materials pretty much every time. And then Sienna, she's going to unlock the laboratory, which is going to be for other direct operations. That's going to be at Mastery rank 8. So not quite there yet, but that's most of what you've got in the town of Albion. Now let's look at the map. Now, this is the map of Albion. When you come out here to the world map, you're going to see the Void Intercept battle, so you don't have to go to Seneca. If you just want to boot one up, you can go right here. But if you're at the world map, you'll notice early on where you start in, say, like the Destruction Zone. You're going to start and talk to an NPC for a little bit, then they're going to give you a quest, big highlighted pink icon, go start it out, and then it goes to the next one, and it goes to the next one. As you get later on in worlds that are a bit more kind of open to do what you want, you'll get to a zone, and then say this zone has like 4 different missions. Pretty much once you kind of talk to the NPC in that area, they're going to be like, hey, clean up all this stuff. Then you're going to go back and talk to an NPC, and then once you're done with that, you'll usually go do the mission that wraps up that region, and then you'll send off to the next region. Same thing here. It's like I got to this region, had all 5 of these missions to go do, and again, these are the short ones. 3 minutes for collection, 10 minutes for the power shutdown, 3 minutes for the multi-hack. Like some are extermination, some are searching, picking stuff up, defending a point. All of those are pretty basic. And then once you're done with those missions, the NPC will be like, okay, we got to go do the real mission. These are the ones that are 20 minutes long, a little more of a challenge if you're solo, stuff like that. Other couple of icons on the map outside of your fast travel points, which use those frequently, even if it's just going to the next zone. You'll have some that require a certain amount of void shards to interact with, and the void shards, you get those by doing different things throughout the game. But these are where you're going to have some of your more unique fights, and then also some of your more unique rewards. As you guys can see down here, there's even it's like that burnt red-orange color. That's going to be a Transcendent module. That's going to be very expensive to use, but also very specific in what it does. Same thing down here. This one says a fire skill. So one of the 3 starters is fire. You actually use a fire skill to initiate this encounter and also to be able to damage the void fragment. So there's some that, like, I know Ajax can do certain ones. So to be able to actually interact with some of these missions, you will need to work on unlocking all the different descendants, or at least enough. One that does fire, one that does energy, one that does chill, one that's non, one that's toxic, at least one of each, so you can interact with all of these. So that's probably the first goal if you're wondering which Descendants to go after. Try and get yourself a variety to make sure you have each damage type covered, so you can interact with every mission on the map. You also notice some of these just have a big question mark. So it says disable nearby surveillance towers. So there's little towers just kind of out in the world. You just kind of stand up to them, interact real quick, not very difficult, and you'll be able to kind of give yourself a bigger time limit to do these. They're usually in a small confined space. So as you can kind of see, it's in this little arena. It's usually stay in there, kind of disable 3 structures, and the more of those surveillance towers, a little bit more manageable it's going to be. So once you kind of get those activated, you've got that option. And then you've also got some of these Defend Albion resources. This is 30 minutes. You can see monster level kind of matches where I'm at right now, but the reward available at each interim review. Probably going to be a wave-based thing, try and survive longer and longer, about 30 minutes or more. That's a bigger time commitment. Those are nothing the story takes you to, but if you're looking for something to level up, give you, more things to go at, maybe level your gear up, find a few more options, this could be a good way to go through and get quite a few options. No specific rewards that you're going to have, but this is going to be able to drop some other stuff as well. That's most of what you're going to find on the map. And again, we're going to go to every region as you progress through the story. So that's your main goal. Hard, like world difficulty just in general, doesn't unlock, it seems, until you do kind of a full normal level playthrough of the entire story. After that, hard, everything will be unlocked and you'll be good to go from there. Another thing to make note of is you have your quest log up here. Usually it's pretty straightforward with the icon, so I haven't even had to come in here and check and see what you need to do, because typically it's pretty straightforward. The pink icon on the map is usually going to tell you what region you need to go to, what you need to do next, and then if you're not entirely sure, Like right now I need to defeat the Dead Bride on normal difficulty, so that one I know is next just because that's what I've done. Usually not too hard to figure out what you're doing, but the access info can be beneficial. So if you go to specific weapons that you may want to find, maybe you're like, I would like to know where the Greg's Reversed Fate comes from. So I come in here and I can actually see the research material that's required. You've got the carbon crystals, the helions, the compound, and you can actually see where these things are going to come from. So Fortress, normal difficulty, the command relay mission is what I'm going to need to do. And I'm pretty sure if I go to the map, I can't even get to the fortress yet because that's way up here. That's more end-game stuff. So that's just something I know I don't have access to. Versus if I come back down to like Thunder Cage that I've already got, and maybe I want to try and get another one. Well, you can come down here, you can check the acquisition, and you can see Sterile Land on normal, high-powered jammer. That's where I'm going to get it from. So if I click on that one, it's going to be high-powered jammer, and it's going to give me a chance to get that Thunder Cage nanotube, 20% chance. So if I'm trying to get multiple copies of the weapon, that's where your targeted farming is going to come from. So access info, whether it's modules, whether it's enhancement materials, you're going to be able to kind of track down where specific things are going to come from. So fine adjustment control access. That one is just going to come from liquid materials, and that's just a currency besides the actual like gold that you're going to use. And you can see that this is just going to come from dismantling weapons, and weapon phase changer access, but mostly just going to come from dismantling weapons. So it's pretty straightforward in both the low level stuff and the high level stuff, like the energy activator, which increases your module socket like possibilities. You can see that you've got some really crazy stuff that you're going to need on this, and you can see what missions it's going to come from. A lot of this says Fortress, so you can see this looks like it's going to be more in-game, going to be a little while till I get to that. So if you're like, how do I get this thing? Come in here and check, and then if you see that some of that is going to be on a piece of the map that you're not even near yet, and Fortress does feel like the in-game zone up top, let that go for now and come back to it once you've kind of gone through. Once you've gone through all of normal, I'm thinking a lot more stuff is going to unlock, and we'll have a lot more minutia, min-maxing, grinding that you're going to be going for, specific parts and builds and that type of stuff. So a couple other things to note just before we go. Your grapple hook is extremely helpful. So your ability to get around is just going to be limited by when you see that little red icon, how far that I can go with that grapple. I can go pretty far up there, and it's usually going to take you right up over the top. Another thing you can do is actually you can grapple onto enemies, and then if you grapple and then melee, you're going to be able to actually do a grapple melee kind of punch style, which is actually kind of fun. So if you ever need to like get up to somebody on top of something up here maybe, and then you melee when you get up to the top, you're able to actually combine those moves into something that will allow you to get up there, attack and knock over the enemy, and kind of multitask at the same time. But your grapple hook also is really good for just general mobility. If you're running around, maybe you're in a boss fight, maybe the floor is lava kind of situation, it's going to allow you to get around. Even just grappling to the floor, might be able to get a single and double jump, and then you might be able to grapple that last little bit. So use your grapple. It's a really pretty awesomely well done tool. I got to give him credit for that one. And it's one of those that if you kind of see how far the range is going to go sometimes, it's actually going to be able to help you out quite a bit. So keep the grapple in mind. It's really, really helpful. And just for an example, if you want to see a grapple melee, so it doesn't have a big area of effect, but you can grapple and melee into just normal enemies if you're trying to move around the battlefield as well. So keep that in mind. So early on, I very much recommend going through, doing the campaign and the story. So clear out the missions in each zone, progress to the next one, clear out the missions, do the actual like bigger timed mission, usually with a boss at the end, and work your way through the entire map. When it comes to min-maxing and grinding out all of the other stuff, going to hard mode and those things, that's going to be more of your in-game grind. It does look like if you're really trying to min-max, there are some things that are going to be a bit of a challenge to get to. So whether you're looking to change difficulties, these intercept battles against the Colossus are pretty legit. And you can also see when you interact with those that you're going to have the option to have your amorphous material patterns like opened up. And you can see that these are going to have a chance to give you certain rewards. And as you unlock some of these, you can see like, okay, Echo Swamp, defend the Albion resource. So if I go here, defend the Albion resource, I can do this one. And then if I can get that reward, then when I go back to the actual boss fight here against the Dead Bride, I might have a chance to unlock this one. And then if I really want to be efficient, I can go to Acquisition, Echo Swamp, Defend Albion Resource, same thing. So I might just need to farm this for a little while, try this and see what rewards I can get. And that way it's going to allow me to be more prepared for the Dead Bride fight, but also get more rewards when I'm done with it. There's a lot more to this game. There's plenty of things that I have not covered in here. So if there are some major things that I've missed, please throw those in the comments below. If you guys are having a good time, I'm hoping you are, because I'm having a pretty good time so far. It's not perfect by any means, but early start. They actually have a pretty good thing going on here. Combat and gunplay feels pretty good. Descendants are decent. We'll see if there's more to those later on as we go. But overall, I hope you learned something from this guide. And if you did, please drop a like, leave a comment to help, the video itself. And if you are enjoying content from me, whether it's this, Destiny, and any of the other games I play, subscribe to the channel, and you can find me on Twitch or Twitter over there as well. And again, to support the channel, use the link in the description, and check out Exter. I'm literally using one of their wallets right now, and if you're looking for an upgrade, it's a good place to go. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you soon.